What is up, everyone? So, I don't know if you can see this. I got doesn't look real good on me. I used to do this when I was younger, but now I'm starting to get a little bit of this old man chin here. No, this way. But I guess that's part of being delirious. We are currently on quarantine. I'm stuck at home for 2 weeks, and this is me being delirious and just saying the hell with it. I've been talking about trying it again here recently since my beer game's been getting strong. But yeah, so I figure what the heck. I got 2 weeks. It'll grow back out. I'll be fine. I don't have to show people. But anyways, back out here in the shop. As of right now, what we're getting ready to get into, currently the Ranger's pretty much done. The boost knuckle is pretty much done. Ooh, I did do something with the boost knuckle the other day though. I was super pumped about this. Obviously the floors dropped in the truck, but I took some of my old license plates and made this little cover here because you could see the gas tank and the frame rails and all that stuff. So while being on quarantine, I did that. So that was just one small thing. But it's currently I think it's Wednesday. So I've been on quarantine for like 3 days, and I can't go back to work for another week and a half. Sucks. You would think that I would be super amped about having all this time off work, that I could be working on stuff, getting stuff done, and that's true. But when you're not at work and you're not making money, it's kind of hard to build cars. So I'm gonna work on what I got with what I've got. And I bought this a long time ago, but I bought the brake kit for the BEL Air. So now I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start doing the disc brake upgrade on this. I've got all the front disc brakes set up, drop spindles, all that stuff. Only thing I don't have for it is coil springs, mainly because this car has cut springs on it, and I don't know where the ride height was before it got cut. So part of me wants to just buy a stock spring, use the 2-inch drop spindle, see where it sits. I know it's not going to sit this low, so I'm thinking maybe. But also another thing, I scratched that, my mind's all over the place right now with this, just trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to go about doing it. But I've seen where guys say that whenever they do the tubular control arms and stuff on it, that it lowers the car too. So I don't know if the design, the way they're made, if they lower the car somehow. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna buy a stock coil spring for the front, do the disc brakes setup, see where the car sits, and then I'm gonna do a disc brake swap in the rear as well. I haven't got that purchased yet, and I'm not gonna be able to purchase it anytime soon with not working. But I am going to, I guess I'm going to get this thing jacked up and start taking everything out from underneath of it. This will be the first time I've had this car up on jacks. I do know that all the factory stuff is pretty roached. Like I said, it's just an old slant 6. Can't really see this bushing here. Let's see if I can move this hose. That bushing is gone. Gonzo. It checked out probably 15 years ago. You can't hardly see it there, but it is completely wasted when you compare it to this side. It still has a good bushing in it. But we're doing tubular upper and arm, goodness gracious, tubular upper and lower control arms, drilled and slotted rotors, I think. Well, hey, I'll get everything out. I'll lay it out in the bed of the boost knuckle and show you what we got and tell you where it came from. Gotta go over and see the puppies. This is my Moose Boy's son. My little Bernese Mountain Dog. This is his son, who's also mixed with Australian Shepherd. Hi, sweet boy. Hi, the puppies. Everybody loves the puppies. Oh, it's such a big stretch. If his sisters knew I was over here, they would freak out. Ooh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Everybody loves puppies. Good boy. And here's sister. We call this one Squeak because she makes so much noise. This one here we call Squirt because she likes to pee when you talk to her. Are you peeing yet? Nope, she ain't peeing yet. What are you doing, Squeak? Oh, the babies. So we have Chunk, Squeak, and then this one here with the two-tone face, that's Squirt. I just love all the puppies. I want them all. Alright, so we got a bunch of boxes here. This big one. This is going to be kind of tough to do here. This all came from Classic Performance Parts. This is the first time I've used them for anything. I'm super impressed with, I mean, just packaging and, you know, as far as quality control goes, seems like they pretty well got their stuff figured out. Kit comes with brake lines, bearings and seals, caps and hardware, and here's our rotors. Got drilled and slotted rotors for the front, which we'll do that on the rear as well. Other rotor. Boxes have seen better days. Obviously they give you a bunch of literature and all that too. And then lastly is, oh, calipers. And I believe they're just generic. Let's try that again since I just knocked the camera over. Let's see, maybe this will work. All right. Anyways, I believe they're just a generic GM caliper. They do come, to me they look powder coated. It doesn't look like paint, so that's pretty awesome. Just a generic GM metric caliper loaded with pads, ready to go. And like I said, I like the fact that they come painted or powder coated, so I don't have to mess with them. But got both those, and those come with hardware as well, which is funny. They send you with hardware here, but then they send you with hardware here, so I guess, you know, depending on what calipers you use, and obviously that's just a generic brake hose kit. But anyways, there's the rotors, etc. And then this one, more literature, instructions, and here we have, I believe these are 2-inch drop spindles, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check the numbers on them, but I'm pretty sure that's all they offer is a 2-inch drop spindle. So we got those. And hardware kits, bolts, and then caliper brackets as well for the brake kit. Oh, let's move all this out of the way. And then I went the extra mile. I figured I was already there, so why not? So I opted for their tubular arm and ball joints. You know, probably wasn't necessary with this car, but I figured, like I said, since I was already there, and I'm trying to make this thing kind of handle as good as I can for what it is. And the kit was just so cheap that it was stupid not to get them. So yeah, there's the uppers, and then I got lowers as well. Also mainly because I didn't want to hassle with trying to put new bushings and all that stuff in the stock arms. It just didn't make sense. And then the lowers. And these things are huge. I don't know why this thing has such big arms, but that is a massive lower control arm, let me tell you. You know, they come with the insulators and everything already in them, and honestly they look like a really nice arm. The tubing and stuff's really big. You know, I've seen some where it looks like the tubing's really small, and they probably make some that's smaller for like lightweight stuff. But I mean, as far as this thing goes, I mean, it's a really nice piece, especially for the money. I think this whole kit, I want to say it was like $800 or something with the arms and everything. And I think the brake kit alone was like 400 and something, and the arms were like 400 and something. But yeah, I went ahead and bought the whole kit. So like I said, the only thing we're lacking for the front is coil springs, and then I want to go ahead and do all new tie rod ends, drag link, you know, all that stuff in the front end as well. But anyways, I'll get this all boxed back up and out of the way, and we'll start jacking the car up, getting ready to disassemble this front end. Alright, so since I've owned this car, I've probably only put, I don't know, maybe 100, maybe a couple hundred miles on it total, if that. And the last few handful of times that I drove it, I've noticed that there's a wheel bearing noise coming from the right front, which was part of what stemmed why I bought all this stuff for it. But I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you can surely hear this. I'm gonna set this camera down and see if you can see how far this wheel moves. I mean, no lie, that thing moves like an inch. I think, oh yeah, 90% of that is upper ball joint. I mean, the upper ball joint is blown out of this thing. But if you listen closely, you can even hear the wheel bearing. Like, you shouldn't hear that. Whew, I'm glad I didn't drive it more than I did. Alright, so I got them down here. What is that? Tractor green paint under here. That's weird. I've never been underneath this, and maybe that's just, I don't know, overspray? Weird. Anyways, I'm getting ready to, I got the tie rod in, unhooked. Now I gotta undo the upper part of the shock, because I'm just gonna pull everything out as an assembly. I'm just gonna let it all fall. So I'm gonna pull this upper nut off this shock. I'll disconnect the brake line here, which the light is really bright and it's hard to see. So I'll undo the brake line there, and then there'll be 2 bolts up top for the upper arm, and then 2 bolts at bottom for the lower arm, and the whole assembly will just fall out from underneath of it. And luckily these coil springs have been cut, so they're not they don't have a bunch of pressure on them, so whenever I drop it all, it won't like spring and blow up like a normal coil spring would. But yeah, so I'll get those get all that disconnected, and we'll drop this whole assembly out. Alright, so I got everything unbolted on this side. Upper control arms unbolted, lower control arms unbolted, brake lines off, and now all I need to do is find my pry bar that I just had and see if I can. Oop. I've got the brake supported currently. I'm gonna see if I can pry this off here like so, but I put a jack underneath the lower control arm to try and support the weight to make this a little easier to do. you know, sliding this upper control arm up off these studs. I might have to maybe go down a little bit more. I might put too much on it. There. Look like it moved a little. Gotta find that sweet spot with not too much tension and just enough tension. It's close. Come on, girl. Anyways, I'll get this popped off, drop this out from underneath the car. All right, and just like that, we got this whole piece assembly out. But yeah, I'd be really curious to like weigh all this and see how much it weighs. I am gonna attempt to reuse those shocks for now. Yeah, so that's one side. Now we'll go over, do the other side, get that side out, and then I'm gonna figure out what coil springs I need to buy, and then I'll probably go ahead and just start mocking all this stuff up, kind of getting everything semi-bolted together, and then we'll just go from there, try and get all this bolted back up in here. Alright, so I got one wheel bearing packed. I'm just kind of half ways assembling this. And then I'm going to put the seal in. Seal driver here. Seal driver is not quite as big as I want it to be, but it's just going to have to work. And that was a huge fail. Try that again. And try and not mess the seal up, because there's no number on it, so I have no idea what it is. There we go. All right, one seal down. Make sure it's flat up against this flange here. Feels a little wonky, so I might have messed it up, but it is what it is. It's gonna put on. Looks a little lower on that side over there. Yeah, it'll be good. Just wheel bearing, it's fine. Alright, so we're back out here in the shop. I don't remember where I left off, but I got the front brakes apart, or at least on the one side. And then I had to knock this bracket off the back of here where the it's actually the stop for the steering, and it's also where the tie rod bolts to. I got it all prepped and painted, cleaned up and stuff. And then the same thing with the new drop spindles. Here they are there. I've got the bracket assembled for the disc brake. And then you can see right here, this is where I had to bolt that bracket for the steering. But that's one side, you know, sort of assembled. I'll get it bolted up to either the top ball joint or the lower ball joint. I still got to get coil springs for the car yet, so I may end up I may end up just bolting this to the bottom, the lower ball joint, and then just kind of letting it hang out, and then I can go ahead and try and set up all the brackets and stuff. But and now that I'm thinking about it, I think I put this on wrong. I feel like, yeah, so I did. I've actually got the wrong bracket on it. It's got to go the other way, so it'll have to be like this, because the caliper is going to be on the back side. So I'm going to pop this back off, switch brackets. That was dumb. I'm retarded. I got all amped up. All right, anyways, I'm going to do that, and then we'll start hanging ball joints and control arms and stuff. All right, so I got old and busted here. These old nasty control arms and drum brakes and worn out bearings. Shouldn't sound like that. And I mocked up. I don't have coil springs, but I went ahead and mocked up all the brakes on this side. And of course you can't see it, so I gotta get my flashlight. You'd think I'd learn this by now, that gotta have a flashlight to see anything underneath here with this camera. And flashlight is MIA. How about a cell phone light? I don't know where my big flash, oh, there it is. Right in my face. And it's dead. Did I leave it on? Son of a biscuit. Back to phone light. All right, but anyways, there's the new upper tubular A-arms, lower tubular arms, disc brakes, drilled and slotted rotors. That's the big bore GM calipers. I tell you what, these CPP arms are a pretty nice piece. I believe these are the economy arms. I really like them. Everything looks to be really nice, welded together. Both upper and lower arms have bump stops, and then all the like urethane isolators for the spring. And then the upper one, let's see, and the upper one has bump stop, which I got to cut the stock bump stop off the frame there. I don't need that one now since the arm's got one built into it. But that's that. I did end up noticing that I got two right side arms, so I'm gonna have to get in touch with them and try and send this one back because it's identical to the passenger side. And then obviously this would need to be on the front, and the arm angle's different. But anyways, that's gonna put me at a stopping point for right now. Hopefully when that all comes back, I'll have the springs and stuff by then, and then we can go ahead and bleed the brakes, try and test drive it, and then I gotta check ride height and see where it's at, and then I gotta figure out what rear springs I need, and then I'll get rear disc brakes coming for it, and we'll do another video on the rear disc brake swaps. But thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, keep following us. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, McQuarrie Racing on Instagram, or me, Matthew McQuarrie, on Facebook, and just keep following along. See you guys later.